In LA this week,
The full city council expected to decide soon on whether or not ride-hailing services like Uber and Lyft can legally pick up passengers at the airport. Do their background checks of their drivers live up to the standards of the city council? I'm Gil Reyes with that story next.
I'm Anna Marcos. Meet the second set of river otter pups to be born at the LA Zoo's Rainforest of the Americas habitat. They're just around the corner, and we'll meet them in a moment.
another step in ending chronic homelessness as this newly renovated building goes online. More on the grand opening coming up. Hello and welcome to LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Yana Kay. Members of the LA City Council cleared the way for a final vote on ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft at LAX. As Gil Reyes reports, driver background checks and their accuracy are just one of the issues being debated.
The flexibility of the Uber platform has given me peace of mind, hope, and stability.
Employment for struggling single moms like this woman. It's one of the reasons why the City Council Committee supports the idea of ride-hailing services like Uber and Lyft at our airport. But picking up passengers through these services is not allowed at LAX just yet. As of deadline time for this story, the measure still has to go before the full City Council for a vote.
I think it's long overdue. I'd like to see this option presented to our visitors and residents.
Uber and Lyft, accessible through apps on your smartphone, are typically less expensive than hailing a cab. But taxi drivers say the increased competition at LAX would cripple their business, and that their competition isn't playing fair. Now, throughout this debate, the taxi companies have criticized ride-hailing services like Uber and Lyft for not adhering to the same strict fingerprinting background checks that the cab drivers have to go through. Cabbies are screened through a fingerprinting system linked to FBI databases.
And it's the world's largest biometric database. The records come from all 50 states and territories.
Taxi companies say their fingerprinting method is more accurate than Uber and Lyft's method. Instead of fingerprinting, Uber and Lyft match names and social security numbers to Department of Justice records. Councilman Mike Bonin says that's good enough.
They have exactly the same type of scrutiny as the flyaway bus service, as the courtesy shuttles that circulate in that airport, as the limos that pick up at that airport.
But Councilman Paul Koretz also worries about increased traffic and pollution these ride-hailing services could add to the airport.
To clog up and pollute the terminal area because somebody thinks that these variations on Badnet cabs are somehow sexy, convenient, and emblematic of the changing times.
Basics, what's in the best interest of Angelenos and our consumers?
That's a question the full City Council must answer soon. In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The Board of Airport Commissioners supports Uber and Lyft pickups at LAX. So does LA Mayor Eric Garcetti. As the city continues to mark the Watts riot's 50th anniversary, the mayor issues a new call to help remake history, while Congressmember Janice Hahn recalls how her dad, former Supervisor Kenny Hahn, almost became a casualty of the riots. Anna Marcos takes us to two anniversary events.
The summer of '65, a hot and violent one for Watts. A near casualty, former Supervisor Kenny Hahn. 50 years later, Congressmember Janice Hahn recalls how her dad's car was stopped at an intersection. Bricks were thrown. Her father was injured by broken glass, but was saved by a Watts resident.
Lily Brantley took my father in, cleaned his wounds, took his jacket and shook out the glass, and really took care of him.
This Watts Symposium, hosted by the Human Relations Commission, one of several events honoring the 50-year anniversary of the riots.
When we got to Los Angeles, we found a different kind of Jim Crow. African Americans and Hispanics could only live in the areas of Watts and Compton.
How can any of us feel that we've achieved what we need to achieve when a dad can stop me on the parking lot and say, please stop the bullets on my street?
Oh, say,
Meanwhile, the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, which formed the same year as the Watts riots, held this youth luncheon.
We're putting together, for the first time in decades, extension of Century Boulevard, the first time in a long time to bring retail, commercial space, a new grocery store. Incredible opportunity there.
Mayor Eric Garcetti called on residents and young people to work to form their own future instead of just marking history.
And the lesson for each one of us is don't let history be written by others. Seize history, write history. Don't just mark history, make history.
Some young people from Watts, it seems, are doing just that.
Because when I was younger, I had a speech impediment, and writing was really this way I could express myself.
Whatever your dreams are of what you want to be, you can become that.
For Watts and many of its young people, 50 years later, the dreams are looking a lot brighter. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LADWP is using a cost-efficient method to deploy and achieve water quality. Rasha Goel has more.
Los Angeles has been blackballed. City officials recently dumped the last 20,000 of 96 million black balls into the Los Angeles Reservoir in Sylmar. The city completed a program of covering open-air reservoirs with floating shade balls to help protect water quality.
And we're here to make sure that we do two things in the face of this historic drought. That first of all, and most importantly, we have clean water for us to drink. But secondly, that we preserve and conserve more of that water as well.
The plastic balls block sunlight from penetrating the 175-acre surface of the reservoir. That prevents chemical reactions that can cause algae blooms and other problems. This method was an alternative to one that would have cost more than $300 million. Instead, the LADWP used shade balls that cost $34 million.
We saved a lot of money, we did all the right things, and we're so pleased to be here today to dump the final bags of balls into the reservoir.
And because it'll cool the temperature and cover it and shade it as well, we're going to save all of that water from evaporation.
Officials say the balls are expected to keep about 300 million gallons from evaporating annually. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Los Angeles was the first city to use shade balls in 2008. The balls now also cover the Upper Stone, Elysian, and Ivanhoe reservoirs. Well, city leaders are working hard, not just to put a dent in homelessness, but to end it. Their latest effort, the grand opening of the Pershing Apartments near Skid Row. Anna Marcos takes us there.
Edward Garcia moved into the newly refurbished Pershing Apartments in April. Before that, he lived in his car for many years. But 3 months after moving in, having a real home is still hard to get used to.
Yeah, I've been on the streets since. Oh, man. I was really bad addicted to drugs, cocaine, and PCP and other things, and lost track of everything. Kids, lost my marriage, lost the house, lost the job. Sometimes it's amazing that there is hope, and I wasn't looking for it.
There's hope.
Yes.
The residents at the Pershing Apartments are getting a standing ovation. Like Garcia, many just moved into the 69 units.
For the first time in 4 years, everything that I own is in one location under lock and key, and I hold the key.
75% of the units will go to homeless residents. The remaining 25% will be low-income apartments. These are more than just apartments. Mental and health services and career and lifestyle guidance are among the perks.
The days of putting people in apartments with no help, I hope it's done. We know what works is giving people a home and the help that they need to stay in that home.
There is a growing understanding that supportive housing is the solution to ending homelessness.
We have seen the population of homelessness increase dramatically. And we went from seeing a very isolated area to now tents all across downtown Los Angeles.
Garcia has managed to escape that fate. He is now studying real estate, and he reads inspirational books and goes to the gym in his spare time. One of the lucky residents who's found a place to call home at last. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The building that houses the Pershing Apartments was rehabbed with earth-friendly features and will be a LEED certified building. Well, LA City fire crews head north near the Oregon border to battle a raging wildfire, one of 100 or so burning throughout our western United States. Gil Reyes reports from Elysian Park.
LA City firefighters gear up for battle in unfamiliar territory, hundreds of miles from home.
We'll get up there this evening. We'll bed down. We're planning on sleeping in tents and sleeping bags. And we'll wake up tomorrow morning about 5 a.m., go to the morning briefing and receive our orders.
In all, 22 LA City firefighters being deployed to the so-called Fork Complex fire. That is burning as of deadline time for this story in the Shasta Trinity National Forest west of Redding, California. These firefighters facing an uncertain future when they go up there. But then again, what else is new?
This is a totally different type of firefighting, first of all. In Southern California, our brush it's brush. It's the native vegetation of Southern California. They don't have the same type of vegetation in Northern California. These fires are in timber, in deep forests.
And that means limited visibility and the possibility of burning falling trees. The group is replacing another batch of LA City firefighters deployed to Northern California. They originally battled the Rocky Fire in Lake and Napa counties, but were recently shifted to the Fork Complex fire near Redding. These firefighters are headed there by bus, a 10-hour road trip. They're leaving their families for up to 2 weeks and will be working 12 to 24-hour shifts.
It's a mutual aid agreement that we have with the state of California. We're helping out right now. Who knows? Maybe later this year we'll need some help.
Serving with courage, integrity, and pride, wherever that may be. In Elysian Park, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The crew deployed up north are from city fire stations in Hollywood, North Hollywood, Pacoima, Granada Hills, and South LA. Well, it's a chance to see firefighters in action and chow down on good food while supporting a great cause. The annual Hope for Firefighters fundraiser is on. Only this year, it's a little dry. Anna Marcos explains.
And the Hope for Firefighters fundraiser is off and running. A 4-alarm success that's raking in tens of thousands of dollars. The 18th annual event was created to raise money for the Widows, Orphans, and Disabled Firemen's Fund.
I am here at lunch. I work at CBRE in downtown LA, and I just wanted to be able to check out what was happening and to support the firefighters.
Each year, the fundraiser's muster games attract more than 5,000 people. This year, the 100-year-old fire carts and water buckets relay races are back, with one big change. In honor of the drought, not a drop of water is spilling.
We're not using any water, so what we do is we do part of what we used to do and then enact a bell ringing to signify the flow of waters.
The food ranges from good old firefighter fare to Mexican to something called Spaceballs. We hear Oreo cookies are involved.
We've had a great time. We've sold over 500 Spaceballs to hungry people visiting here from downtown and the neighboring areas. We've had a great time.
Well, with Spaceballs to cap it off, lunch doesn't get any better than this. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
So far, the Relief Fund has raised $100,000. Well, you can't see it and you can't feel it, but that doesn't mean it's not there, as city officials get ready for future disasters by embracing the latest technology. LA firefighters storm an office building in downtown LA as part of an earthquake drill. They're preparing for an emergency, such as an earthquake or fire. And while firefighters are out in the field, city leaders are making sure they have all the proper tools they need as well. And one way they're doing that is by moving their emergency backup operations to the cloud.
So in case of a disaster, in case anything happens to our emergency operations center in downtown LA, we can go ahead and run the very same capabilities from anytime, anywhere. And we're doing it for the safety and the care and the concern of our citizens.
This Emergency Operations Center, or EOC, in downtown LA is where city leaders gather during an emergency. A second location used to house the backup facility in case this one was damaged, but officials were able to leverage technology and move the software, hardware, and capabilities of the EOC into the cloud, eliminating the need for the backup facility.
We can set up an emergency operations center anytime, anywhere, and we're doing it based on us hosting all of this technology using cloud computing.
Officials say the cloud gives officials the ability to respond quickly from any remote location with a simple internet connection or satellite uplink.
By us being in the cloud, it gives us the flexibility, the agility. It gives us an opportunity to be truly expeditionary. We can perform our functions anywhere, anytime, any place.
And the best part, the technology in the cloud uses a pay-as-you-go model, meaning you only use what you need, cutting costs while increasing efficiencies.
We've searched far and wide. We look around, we try to build, we try to adapt to different types of structures. Which one will survive and what will it survive? The cloud is the cloud.
Officials say they'll still be able to manage, coordinate, and assign first responders and do everything else just like before, only this time with a simple click of the mouse. And by the way, the Information Technology Agency, which operates the station, is up for a public cloud award from Amazon for the innovation. While the LAPD hopes new baseball cards with officers' photos on the back will give them a home team advantage in community policing, Gil Reyes explains.
All of these are designed to build relationships in policing.
LAPD Chief Charlie Beck holding in his hand what he hopes will be a home run with LA kids. Making a comeback this season after a long absence are these Topps Special Edition Dodgers baseball cards. On one side, a home team hero like catcher A.J. Ellis. On the other side, his batting average, other stats, and a smiling photo of an LAPD or LA County sheriff's official. The peace officer's patrol area is also printed, so is his or her personal quote. Back in the 1980s and 90s, officers would hand out these cards to excited kids on the street.
It became a time when they look forward to seeing us instead of thinking otherwise. And every time you share a little piece of the human experience with somebody, every time you give them something, even if it's not significant, it is to them. And you break down barriers and you build relationships.
LAPD reservist and Valley Councilman Mitchell Englander holding a deck at this police commission meeting at Taft High School. Officials hope the cards will help kids become familiar with the officers who patrol their neighborhoods while building trust.
Now, obviously, baseball cards are not the only way you do that, but they are one way, and a pretty good way.
While on patrol, the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department plan to hand out more than 1 million free baseball cards through October. Get yours soon before they're gone. In Woodland Hills, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
This marks the first season that LA County Sheriff's officials will be featured on the baseball cards. Well, city officials offer a reward to help track down a suspect who shot and killed a husband and father. Metropolitan police officers gear up for more patrols, and the Greek Theater may be under new management. All these stories in City Beat. City and police officials announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for the April 19th shooting death of 41-year-old Juan Flores, who was gunned down in front of his house in Southeast LA. LAPD officials said Flores was shot about 2:30 a.m. on East 21st Street as he was parking his car. So far, investigators have little information on the suspect.
We're here to ask for the public's help in bringing some peace to this family so that they can try to regain some sense of normalcy.
He was a really, really nice husband. He was a nice father, and he always was right there for us.
Anyone with information is urged to call the LAPD Newton Station Homicide Desk at 323-846-6556 or 877-LAPD-247. The Los Angeles Police Department's Metropolitan Division A platoon took part in its first roll call at Elysian Park Academy following the unit's expansion. This group of 60 officers were deployed to the Central, Newton, and Rampart Division to help patrol high-crime areas. Metropolitan officers go all over the city and are hand-selected for their maturity, connection to the community, and decision-making abilities. They also receive special training.
Their charge, their responsibility is to leave a neighborhood in better condition than when they got there. And obviously being deployed specifically where crime is occurring is our primary focus.
Los Angeles Recreation and Parks officials are recommending that a Pennsylvania-based event management company be given a city contract to manage the Greek Theater as an open venue. Recreation and Parks officials earlier this year had planned to award Live Nation an exclusive contract to manage and promote concerts at the outdoor Griffith Park performance venue, but that plan was derailed after Nederlander, the long-standing venue operator, mounted a campaign to override the decision. Recreation and Parks officials eventually opted against siding with either firm, deciding instead to have the city self-operate the venue with the help of a management consultant. The Department of Rec and Parks' Michael Scholl said that under this open venue approach, the city would be able to keep more of the revenue generated by the theater. And as kids headed back to school, one student got a special lesson in kindness from a couple of LAPD officers who helped him get ready for his first day. That's the focus of This Week in Tweets. He was on his way to school but couldn't tie his tie, so the 14-year-old flagged down 2 LAPD officers to help, and they did. LAPD Hollenbeck shared the photos taken by his mother, tweeting, "A kind gesture goes a long way." Martin Beza at LAPD tweeted, "It's a simple act of kindness that means the most. This is what #relationship policing looks like." Beza later tweeted another pic of the officer sitting with 2 younger boys, posting, "Our story continues. Officers share their ties with siblings of the young man who needed assistance." And Robert Serta tweeted, "As it should, gentlemen, a community's officers should reflect its finest characters." And that's a look at This Week in Tweets. Well, the LA Zoo is welcoming some late spring babies. A litter of 3 endangered giant river otter pups is the latest addition to a growing brood. Anna Marcos takes a look at the young critters.
Here they come, slithering down their water slide. The endangered giant river otter is endangered no more, at least here at the LA Zoo. Not only was the first set of pups born last year at the new Rainforest of the Americas habitat, but in March, another litter of pups, now just a few months old, came along, which brings the family to a grand total of 7, including Mom and Pop.
We really like coming to see them, and we love how they play and jump around. It's really fun for the kids to see.
The giant river otter is rare even in its own habitat, the Amazon rainforest. So 2 new litters here at the zoo is big news indeed.
There's not many of them left. It's very fragmented populations. Like a lot of animals, they come in conflict with humans. They're poached, they're hunted for their fur, and the habitat is being destroyed at an alarming rate.
Zookeepers were worried that the mother otter, who was hand-raised by zookeepers at the zoo, would not know how to do what comes naturally, but she's taken quite well to mothering.
She picks them up like a mother cat would pick up her kittens. She picks them up by the scruff of the neck and carries them in if it's time to come in, or she'll like sort of herd them out.
It's a family affair. Everyone takes care of everyone's brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. So we have 7 of them out there. So you come and you watch mom feeding them, dad teaching them how to swim.
The pups are now getting weaned off mother's milk and eating more fish. But in the wild, well, the diet can get wilder. Yup, don't let the cuteness fool you. They've got strong jaws. And it looks like these babies are ready to lose their baby teeth. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The Rainforest of the Americas habitat, which houses the giant river otter, is also home to piranhas, monkeys, several species of birds, and the latest exhibit, the jaguar habitat. Well, tradition meets a bold new flavor as the 35th annual Lotus Festival celebrates an ancient culture for the first time. Mongolian dancers put on a traditional dance for audience members during the 35th annual Lotus Festival. It's the first time that the festival has celebrated the country of Mongolia, giving folks a chance to experience a new and rich culture.
The Lotus Festival is welcoming Mongolia and the music and arts of Mongolia, which the festival's never seen before.
Mongolian food, entertainment, and arts and crafts were on full display, as well as the stunning lotus flower, the star of the show.
It's a great festival we put on every year. It's in celebration of the lotus flower. And the lotus flower has a lot of significance, particularly in Asian culture. And in Echo Park Lake, there are a number of lotus beds that bloom at this time of year.
The lotus flower is significant to the Asian culture because it represents rebirth, purity, and life. And the exquisite plant certainly didn't disappoint, unleashing its vibrant beauty for those in attendance. Echo Park is experiencing its own rebirth after being shut down for renovations between 2011 and 2013. During that time, the Lotus Festival was put on hold, but now it's back to the delight of festival goers.
It's great. It's great weather, lots of nice people, good exhibits and booths.
And by the looks of things, it appears Angelinos are certainly making the most of what the new and improved Echo Park Lake has to offer. The Department of Recreation and Parks and the members of the Council of Oriental Organizations started the Lotus Festival in 1972. Well, a musician brings his music to life through art, a play about love and deception with a twist, and pictures that look like the real thing. All this in this week's Things to Do. Following the tradition of great musicians who are also fine artists, singer and band leader Luis Cruz Beltran brings his music to life on canvas with his first major art exhibit called Paint the Rhythm, named after his critically acclaimed recording. Like many other renowned musicians on the scene today, Luis expresses his inspirations and his rhythms via the art of painting. He was exposed to the hardships of the immigrant farm workers at an early age, which inspired the stories he tells via his music and now his art. Luis is captivated with music, particularly the Afro-Cuban rhythms of Latin jazz as well as R&B and traditional rock and roll. Each of his 29 works has its own story, many of which he will share at his first exhibit on Saturday, August 29th at the MRG Fine Art Gallery in Sherman Oaks, located at 13453 Ventura Boulevard.
What is this thing called love?
Seduction, money, and power are all on fine display in this bizarre 18th century comedy of love and deception. A young girl dresses as a man to learn more about her husband-to-be and his true intentions. What she discovers bends everything from gender to her most cherished notions of love. It runs now through September 6th at the Odyssey Theater, located at 2055 South Sepulveda Boulevard. Tickets range between $10 and $34. For more information, odysseytheater.com. Is there anything more personal, more elusive than what it is to be happy? The 2015 pageant of the Masters, The Pursuit of Happiness, will explore the many sources of happiness, both ancient and modern, through the theatrical production of living pictures. Go on a sentimental journey through depictions of pastimes and activities that gave people joy long before the instant gratification of the computer age. Discover artists who found their own answers to the age-old question, what makes life worth living? The 2015 pageant promises to be a breathtaking, playful, and joyous journey in search of that most mysterious of treasures. Check it out at Festival of the Arts at 650 Laguna Canyon Road in Laguna Beach. For more, visit foapom.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.